Okay, it's a go. Hello, everyone. My name is Philip Sporer, and welcome to this streaming event, which is going all throughout North America, part of the Longing Belonging Festival, which is being produced by the Goethe-Institut. This is why I'm speaking in English at the moment, and the conversation will be in English, though si vous avez des questions suite à notre conversation, vous pouvez les poser en français. I'll do the translation, and we'll just take it from there. So, those of you who have not been present in the larger audience outside of Montreal, please let me introduce Khadidiatou Bangoura and Luana Madikera. Welcome. And to start off, I just want to ask you, when I walked in the door, I got this wonderful little note. Mine says, Ubuntu. Can you explain?
Good evening. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you, first of all, for having this chat with us. And yes, so before our performance, we gave out little pieces of paper on which we wrote different words. And basically what you saw previously was part of a research that we've been having here for the past, is it 6 weeks? 6 weeks. Six weeks, yeah. And of course, so it's not a finished work. We're trying things out. We're discovering new things as we go. But there are a lot of, we started out by talking a lot, actually. And we're a bit worried, like, wow, we want to dance, but we're really talking a lot. And we realized that it was necessary in order to find each other, to find where we were going. So we created this big mind map to also kind of see, okay, where we overlap, kind of a chance to be in the brain of the other and see what is swimming around there. And so, yes, we wanted to share these, the words that stood out to us or that we felt really in a way capture what we've been exploring, what we want to continue to explore, and to share them with the people who are here, and that maybe they can find their own meaning of this word, maybe reflect on these words and see what they might mean for them in their personal or artistic life. And Ubuntu basically means we are one. Yeah, it's that.
Thank you so much. And we're doing this because we each need to be speaking in the mic, and there's only one mic. Yeah. So there we go. So you were mentioning the starting point for the work here, but of course it's a residency, and before one arrives for a residency, we all have ideas about what can happen. Mm-hmm. Could perhaps talk about the very starting point when you put forward the proposal, mm-hmm. and perhaps how it shifted or changed mm-hmm. in the doing.
Okay. Okay, I think it's one thing that we can mention, first of all, is that maybe how we met. So we were working for Ghanaian choreographer Félix Dompré in Berlin, Germany, and we met actually there, and we did know each other. And yeah, and I think that's the important part of, like, we got into getting to know each other, but also into a new material, which was around a ritual called Dipo in Ghana, Croboland, exactly. And it's not that that's high, no? Just, but I mean, I can even project my voice. So. Sorry? It's just for the streaming. Okay, cool. So yeah, and then so it was the starting point, and also I think meeting, but also getting into this reflection around rituals or West African ritual, specifically on the Ghanaian rituals, in the contemporary scene. And then from there, we saw potential, I guess, to go further, to go deeper, also in those contexts of, okay, what does it mean to actually, well, it was at the beginning, adapt rituals or ceremonies or practices from West Africa to the contemporary scene. And I think when we got here, we had this idea of, okay, we're going to connect with people, we're going to think about all of that. And then arriving here, we also, as Khadi said, we also had the first phase of really talking and sharing like who we are, what our perspective, what is our story or what are our stories, and maybe also reflect a lot on questions around identities, how we position ourselves, what does it even mean for us? What do we know around those topics? And then it shifted from, I guess, wanted more or less, I'm not so sure, to adapt to, okay, how can we reflect around those questions that we have when we think about those practices and how we want to translate them to the contemporary scene, and like how we are really reflecting. I think it's really the word, and questioning that. And what does it mean for us as individual? What does it mean for us collectively? And what does it mean in the art scene and in contemporary scene? And what does it mean in the scene also here in this city, in this country, with all the influences that we discovered as well here because it was our first time here. So with all the influences from other people who are here and their story. So for example, we got a first, I don't know if it's a first impression from the First Nation people, because we arrived when it was Présence Autochtone. So, and it was like I think, of course, yeah, we know it's like First Nations. It's North America, but still, when you live far away and you don't have a direct contact with those people, it's a different story. And also, how much I guess we could relate somehow, or we could reflect, and we could, but also how much or how many questions it's generated. Merci. It generated. So I guess what like how it shifted is also how much like the question of identity became something that went more forward. What? More forward.
Yeah. I think that was quite complete. The only thing I would add is that maybe for me personally, like starting from the piece in which we met each other, so Depot, that was really based on this specific dance that also had a specific movement. And I mean, this is not the only thing that happened when we worked on that piece, but it was really literally, okay, this is the basic movement, and try to develop that further. So that was kind of this first idea of, okay, what does it mean to take a dance that is considered a traditional dance and put it into a contemporary setting? And then one big reflection, or one big, for me, key moment was that I think for me, it's not only about taking the movement and adapting it, but what does it mean actually about the structure? Like, what is actually the situation in which these dances or these practices take place? And is there maybe something from there that we would like to borrow, that we would like to experience, or that we would like to share, that we feel maybe not as prevalent or in the contemporary dance world? And so I think this influenced a lot how we decided to have the performance. Yes, we looked at different traditional dances that are more related to my background, that are related to Luana's background, and pieces of that appeared in the performance, but we also see, okay, what does it mean to deconstruct it, especially also when you don't have a mastery of these dances, because we've been able to, dip our toes in there, but and I think Luana would agree with me, we would never say that we're proficient in these dances, because we just did not study them long enough. We did not study them in the context where they are danced, where they are practiced. And at the same time, we feel that we have, or we wish to be able to reclaim them in a way, and to say, yes, we can take these dances and study them to the best of our ability in the context that we're in, and see what that might move or create in us, that we can then transfer to our, let's say, regular dance practices. But I think, yeah, for me, the interesting realization was that it's not only about the movement, it's actually about the situation that we create, which is different from well, now we have a lot of more like immersive and yeah, I would say immersive performances, and performances where we break this traditional proscenium setting in a way. And for me personally, and I think also Luana's work, that's definitely something that we're interested in and that we want to go further into, because we just feel that it gives other opportunities and actually a new way to experience theater, and gives us also the possibility, and what we're also actively doing, to rethink what it means actually to be an audience member. And what does it mean to be active, or what is passive? And does active necessarily mean that you join us on stage? No, not necessarily. Does it mean that you clap? Does it mean that you give a particular attention? We don't have answers to all these questions yet, but we're definitely looking for them and would like to define them further. Yeah.
Thank you for both of those responses, which actually have so many beautiful trajectories to them. I would like to dive into one aspect of what you were saying, and this is really the idea of the transference of cultural practice, particularly as it relates to both of you as what I would perhaps refer to as diasporic artists. If I can just mention, in terms of your own background, Khadi, your family comes from Liberia and Guinea in West Africa, and Luana, for you, it's the Caribbean islands of Guadeloupe and Martinique. So I'm just wondering, this notion of the transference of cultural practice is both one that can be looked at through a colonial frame or a decolonial frame. It can really allow for many ways of the framing. So perhaps you could talk about that, Kathy.
I'm not sure if I understand the question. When you mean the framing, you mean how we use our respective backgrounds to influence what we do?
And how that informs the practice.
Yeah, I think that's something that happens in a way subconsciously. And I think this is what this research was also about trying to recognize actually all of these things that happen subconsciously and to recognize them and not necessarily name them or label them, but create a greater awareness of it and maybe also acknowledge and appreciate actually what they contribute to our work. We did look at dances. Last year was in Liberia for a research residency, and was also trying to find out more about different traditional dances. And I had the opportunity to train with some people who were practicing dances that belong to specific cultural groups, the Bassa people and the Madingo people. And so I shared that with Luana, and then Luana let me not say wrong. Goka is from Guadeloupe. Yes, I always confuse them. So shared Goka, which is a dance from Guadeloupe, with me. We also took some classes with a group here in Montreal called Expression, where we were able to learn some dances from Haiti. And what was really interesting in the process, and this, like the aspect of the transference, and also why we called this project Transatlantic Reverberation, is that in all these different dances, we find parallels. And so they come from the islands, and then there's some that come from the continent. And then even actually, if you go back to the United States, if you look at some other dances, you will definitely find traces. So it's kind of like, I had heard about this person who did a PhD in music, I think, and he was speaking of this transatlantic loop. And that somehow, if you can follow the circularity of how it travels from the two continents to the islands and back and forth. And then for us, it became, okay, but there's something about it that we feel almost like it's a vibration, like it's a calling, like you hear the drums and you kind of feel like, I don't know if it's like that for everybody, or it's because we're dancers, or it's because we like music and we like rhythm. But I was saying this, when we went for the first workshop with Expression, or the only workshop we did with Expression, it was a few days after we arrived. And as soon as the drums hit, we were a bit like, whoa, okay, something is happening. So somehow there is, although we have somehow, yes, cultural similarities in our backgrounds, there are also a lot of differences. But through the dancing, I think we find a lot of parallels, I would say, in a way.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think what you're also speaking about in a really very interesting way is the link between how your work together, but probably individually as well, is deeply rooted in the physical, the bodily, the psychological. And Luana, this, I think, has been a big part of your work, to dive into the notion of the psychosomatic aspect of dance, and for instance, looking at traditional dances from places such as Guadeloupe, how they might link into, or how they were created in resistance. And that becomes, I think, a jumping off point, I would imagine, just in terms of your own both research and the development of the work that you did here.
So what are you asking exactly? Just
Well,
for me to...
I'm just wondering about
should I do?
how psychosomatic
Okay.
elements
Oh, okay.
feed into
Yeah.
your own practice.
Okay, I think there is different things in the. Definitely, there is a big interest of you in the psychosomatic in the dance, and I do think they are therapeutical. Very hard to say. But I think one point that you said is the resistance, which is a bit more what I've. One of the things that I've been looking at. How they were used in order to survive, literally. Like how can you, and also how they were created in a mean of preserving like preserving culture. So the thing is like when you're from the Caribbean and when you're from the African diaspora in the Caribbean, because they have other people, there is something deeply complex around your identity, I guess, because there is a part of our story that is gone. I don't know if it's gone. I don't think it's gone, because this is part of my research, to go and then look for it. So I don't think it's gone, but it's harder to find, and it's I say lost, but we can find it again. So I think that's more of the thing that I'm looking into, is more like how those dancing are used as a tool of a memory, remembrance, and connection to past identities. And for me, so yeah, definitely, I'm from Guadeloupe, and I also went to Guadeloupe, but also I go to the continent, I go to West Africa, and then I'm also actually, from my background, I firstly come from those like urban African dances from West Africa, Central Africa, and South Africa. So it's like my point of connection is also to understand how I was looking personally to understand my own story through learning those dances unconsciously. So, and now it's very conscious. Like I'm going and I'm like, I'm looking for those traditional dance. Who are those people? Which language are you talking? Who are you? And that's a huge research of mine, actually. But then actually I was just thrown just from my body to go to those dancing. And I felt like, wow, why does it talk like what does it feel like home? Like, oh, okay, it feels like I know that, and I didn't know. So, and I did know because I didn't grow up with, for example, Azonto from Ghana. I'm not from Ghana, so I didn't grow up with Azonto. And then I was like, wow, it's speaking to me. So I'm really trying to understand. And then it's actually the same when I'm going to traditional dances, which is like a new part of the thing that I'm doing, more going to learn traditional dancing from West Africa, for example, dance from Guinea or from Benin. And then there is the thing that is so deep, and that is, I think, not something that we can, and I think I'm fine with that, rationally with the head explain, that is really something from the soul, from the les tripes, quoi, from the guts, from the like, yeah. So and you were talking about like well, decolonial, because this is also one topic that I have, but I think going from the feeling and going from what you really deeply feel in your body is very decolonial, I think. And also it's a way to retrace. I think it's what is that? To retrace the history. So it's like if I go there, I'm going back. So I'm able to go back and I'm able to reclaim those dances. Even if when I say reclaim, I don't think they are mine. I just think that they are part of the history of my ancestors, and it's a part that has been destroyed, and I'm just trying to reconnect with that. Does that answer your question?
It opens up more questions.
Yeah, I don't know. This is how I felt with what you said.
Thank you. No, that's beautiful. I love that. I did want to just ask you, and maybe if you could go further, because both of you have mentioned the notion of ritual and how in Montreal that was one of the aspects that the residency allowed you to do, delve into the idea of ritual. How is that pushed forward or pushed further?
I think we started to rethink what a ritual actually is, or what it's meant to be, and how we might find them or encounter them in this side of the world, let's say. And we had these wonderful musicians with us, who are musicians that play at the Tam Tam, which is a gathering in Montreal. Is it Montreal, the place where it is? Yeah, Montreal, yeah. And I think it was like the first or the second week that we got here. And our lovely hosts from Goethe, I think Carolina told us, yeah, on Sundays there's the Tam Tam, you should definitely check it out. And we thought, we will just go there and have a look and hear a bit of Tam Tam and then, go home. And we got there, and there's different groups, I would say, who are playing percussive music of different countries, I would say, or different areas of the world. And there was just such an energy, again, that just drove us there. And I think we danced for like 4 hours, like non-stop. And that was not the plan at all. And we just really connected, especially with a person who has been playing there for like 26 years, so also very dedicated and connected to it. And as we were dancing, we were like, but I think this is a ritual. It's like, yeah, I think so. Like, this is actually a ceremony. Like, it's happening here. It doesn't have an official label or anything, but very clearly people are there because they feel that they belong. They feel that they can belong, and they are received as though they belong. And I think that people go there without wanting to speak for them, but there's a longing. I think that there's something that pulls people there. And what's so beautiful is that, okay, you have the people who play the percussion and have played them forever, but anyone can play. So you have people who are just starting, it looks like, are not experienced musicians, but because the rhythm is being held in a way by those who have more experience, they can join in and start to learn and all of these things. And I thought, wow, like this is a ritual of connection, like right here happening here. It doesn't have any religious connotations. It doesn't have any spiritual connotations, and it can have those connotations. I don't think that there's anything wrong with them personally, but it doesn't have to have that. And so I think in the thinking of, okay, how has our perception on what a ritual is changed, is that it's something that I feel needs to be, it sounds maybe a bit weird, but normalized in a way. Like we see it, especially here, a bit as something a bit abstract. Oh yeah, there's a ritual or there's a ceremony. Even this word ritual, we questioned a lot. Is it the right word? Is it a ceremony? Is it a cultural practice? Like we still don't know exactly what to call it, but for sure it's a happening that celebrates something or that mourns something. And I think that, yes, I think that there can be more of that, and that we can make more space for that. And it doesn't always have to be a huge thing, but it offers a chance to belong. It offers a chance to acknowledge actually the different stages that we go through in our lives.
Thank you so much. Also a sense of being in the world. One aspect that I saw tonight that I'm always intrigued with when I watch work or engage with work is the notion of scale. So tonight, I felt at least that there was an intimacy to what you were offering folks here. Could either of you or both of you speak to this notion of creating, or the challenge of creating to scale?
Creating to scale.
Or working internally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, mon espace, tu veux dire? Ouais, ou bien?
Je pense par rapport au format que ça soit, que ça a été assez petit. Oui,
d'accord.
Donc
dans l'espace. Ouais, donc, ok, spatial. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a very good question, actually. That's a very good question, and I'm also wondering because it happens more towards our last weeks that we decided actually to I don't know if it's limits, but to change just, or to choose a scale that is this one that is more, I guess, creating a more intimate atmosphere or ambience, but also it felt right. So I think that's one of the things. It felt right. Also, what we share is very intimate. This is literally like us also sharing something that is very personal that we haven't shared before. So I don't think there is a need to create it, but I think it just happen if you also are sharing an intimate like relationship with someone. So I think we close as well, and we got to know each other as human, and as artists, and we also connected through that. So I think that's maybe what is coming out. And also, and I guess it's also because we had this atmosphere that we wanted to create that was more in a corner, that was just also smaller because of the technical aspect, which I found really good, actually. I really liked the fact that it was smaller, that it was more, yeah, just a bit smaller, and then maybe just in reference to a lot of practices from the diaspora and the continent. It's just one thing that I've experienced also in certain practices that is not that big. I mean, maybe the ceremony is huge, but like maybe the place where something is happening is maybe very small. And this is something that I've experienced, for example, in Benin, in the Sakpata ceremony. It was like people were dancing and we were clapping, but the space was very small, so we were very close. And I think it also makes a huge difference where the people are experiencing things. So if you are very far away, or if you are very close, or if you are in, which I guess maybe one thing that we wanted to try with people is that people are in the thing that is happening, so that they are feeling it. So that they're not just watching it, they are experiencing it with their body inside. So yeah, I guess that's yeah, what I would say.
Yes, I agree with all of that. Also, I think I long for that, actually, personally. I think in the past years, I've been involved in work that is more intimate. I've consciously tried to create work that is more intimate. I think that there's this idea that, how should I say, that when we get to know people, we have to go, you know, step by step, that you cannot immediately go to like the big questions, you know, the things that you actually really want to know about people. Like you don't really care how they get to work. Yeah, maybe you want to know, okay, when's the last time you cried? You know, like these are the things that, and sometimes we feel like, you know, we can only go baby steps, and I think that's okay, but I also believe there's another way. I think that there's a way to get close quite quickly, which we experienced also as part of our work. And I think this is an attempt in that, in bringing the people closer to us, to, yes, because we show a lot of ourselves also, you know, we share a lot of ourselves. And I think it's, for me, it's also a way to encourage that, to encourage us to do that more, whether it be in a dance or artistic setting, whether it be in a private personal setting, that we don't have to have all of these barriers before we actually really get to know each other. And for me, it also comes from, for the past 2 years or so, I've been engaging a lot with like dance and blindness, and dance for visually impaired people, for blind people. And so what does it mean for them in terms of dancing, but what does it also mean in terms of performance? And one great tool that is being used currently is audio description, which kind of like describe, I don't know if this is widespread in Canada, in Montreal yet, but it, yeah, so you know what it is. It kind of like describes basically what is going on stage, and it can be a very technical description, or it can be a very, let's say, poetic, abstract one. And that's beautiful. And at the same time, I experienced that just bringing the people closer in and giving them the opportunity to hear the breath, to hear that this is happening, is already information that people can use a lot to create, you know, what might be happening on stage. And I think that that's regardless of visual ability, that it can, that I would like to encourage myself and others to use our other senses more consciously. And I feel also by having sort of like this dark, you know, this dark atmosphere that we had, it's not only what you see, because I think a lot of things maybe people couldn't see, but hopefully they felt something, you know, and maybe that is something that people can then reflect on or grab on. And yeah, I think that's it.
Can I just add something? Because I was thinking about this game again. And I think one of the things that I was thinking of, because I was just like dancing and people were like going away, is that there is a lot of like things that you can, literally our bodies are talking. So like if you're next to me, like I can feel you. I can feel if I'm connecting with you. I can feel if not connecting. And I think one of the things, because we were talking about the audience, for me, that I'm definitely trying to have now is also to understand that it doesn't have to be this separation. Like you don't have to be far away. You can be. Yes. Mm-hmm. like you're allowed to just like feel me the way I can feel you. It's a bit like, but it's really that. And then also in the context of more of those dancing that I'm talking and I'm coming from or I'm researching, literally like people are very close to you when they hype you. So it's like they're just not like 2 meters away from you. They're literally hyping you and you can hear them, you can feel them. And I think this is definitely what I'm longing for. Like more of that. I do think we collectively also need more of that. And it doesn't have to be that complicated. Like it doesn't have to be like, no, it can just be like, hey, your body, you're human, I'm like dancing and you can just feel it. Like you can just, so yeah, and I think, wait, c'est ça. This is what I wanted to add, that those energy that can be felt and the distance and the closeness of the body helps a lot with the transfer of presence and energies.
Say that worked tonight. Thank you so much. On va ouvrir ça à vos questions, vos commentaires. If you have questions or comments, we have a few minutes to do that. Anybody who, or to respond to what you heard this evening?
I want to add to your question, what were we supposed afterwards to do or think about?
Yeah, what were we supposed to have to do with the papers that we received?
What word did you get?
Yeah, I think we started that.
Blackness. Is blackness something you have reflected upon, thought about? Experienced, no, but thought about? Can relate to it anyway. It's a little impulse. At some point, I mean, we had like a restricted time frame. If we had more time, we really wanted to engage more with people. So the idea was, when we saw like, no, this is not going to work. So let's stick to not the basics, but let's stick to the structure that we had. But the idea would have been maybe you have the word blackness and maybe you get the microphone and maybe you say something about blackness in our loop. Or maybe you just say blackness, and maybe the way that you say it makes me think of...
Or maybe you give something, I don't know, you give a movement, maybe you come and you say it, maybe you whisper it. There is so many options to bringing also to the space and to us, but definitely we were thinking about those, like saying it in the microphone, maybe saying what we were looping. Maybe it's something that you say, or maybe it's just a thought that you have and it's connected to it. So, and I think that was also one of the attempt to, or to think about how like an audience can engage and be part of like a performance or be really active. And that's one way that we were thinking of.
Yeah, I just realized also, you said it a little bit, that it could also be a lens, no? Through which you see the performance. So maybe if you have blackness, maybe you see the performance through the lens of blackness. You have Ubuntu, maybe you see it through this lens. And then we were thinking, actually, this could become a thing where we only pick certain words and then we create groups, and then the people who have the same word, they get together in groups. So we were like developing this whole thing, which obviously we didn't have the time for. But yes, it's really fed by this desire to, get the audience to engage more, to give them a little, because dance can be extremely abstract. I think we have all experienced that. And so even if it's just a word, I think that can already help to somehow create a connection to whatever it is that is happening in the space. And yes, hopefully in the future we can have, you called it something, a performative, I don't know, interactive immersive workshop. We will find a great title for it. And then we can, it's almost like digesting the performance while experiencing the performance and not afterwards, as we tend to do, which is also totally fine. But yes, maybe just a different way to approach things. And I think that this is also something that drives us a lot. Like, what are the ways that we do, just because of our backgrounds and our education and the way that we've been socialized, we're told this is how a performance happens. This is how you dance. This is good dance. This is bad dance. To try to reflect, on that, and to deconstruct, and also to let go of what we find that is not useful, to keep what we have learned that is working, to somehow, because we speak of that we're in the contemporary dance world. So what does contemporary mean? That we have to somehow continue to evolve, I would say.
Thank you so much. Une autre question, un autre commentaire, another question or comment?
Diaspora, diaspora. And I would like to say I'm very proud of you because you know that 2024 is the end of the decade of Afro-descendant that the UN has said it was like our decades. And we have been searching so much for our past, where we're coming from, even in America, although it's your first time. And it's very special what you do. Please do not underestimate. Like when we see you, it's like, oh yeah, it's about time. So great work, and I wish you the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really.
Thank you. Une autre question, un autre commentaire, another question or comment?
Do they
Please.
have the microphone or no? Because
I can run.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to add to what has been just said. Like, thank you so much. It was very powerful. I'm from Martinique, Guadeloupe, and I really felt the power of the drum as a way to connect to our womb, to our belly, but also to history. And it was, you sent the message you wanted to send, and I could connect. So thank you so much. And I also wanted to know if you know what's going to be the next steps for you, next performances or next healing performances. I don't know. So yeah, that was my question.
Thank you. Merci.
First of all, thank you. Thank you. It really, it means a lot. It really means a lot because, you know, you're trying things you don't know. People, so it just means a lot. Thank you. And also, I just wanted to mention, relating to what you said about the drum, that this was something also when we got to Montreal, that on one hand we experienced in the Tam Tam, but also when we went to Présence Autochtone, that many First Nations also in their dances and in their songs use a lot of drums. And then I, did a bit of research and read about how, as part of the colonization, the drum was forbidden. And so how, it means a lot, that now these drums can be played. And so for us, it was also an important symbol of something that we wanted to express, also to say that, we acknowledge that that experience. It's not our experience, but we feel a lot of empathy with it. And actually, that's also something that, talking about next steps, that for me was really interesting. Like, how do these experiences, how does the experience that the First Nations have here, actually, in terms of the colonization movement, match or differ from other colonization movements that have happened in the world? So that, I don't know how that would translate into dance, and that's not the first focus, but just historically speaking, for me, that would be something interesting. We loved playing with the looper. That was our first, Luana has worked quite a bit with voice. I'm starting to work with voice. And that just gave us a lot of possibilities. And that's definitely something that we would like to look further. Like, okay, how can we integrate also the use of our voice, and also actually this, I don't want to say clash, but this, on the one hand, very, acoustic, percussive music. And then on the other hand, something that is more fed by technology. And, if you have a more advanced looper, you can tweak and add effects and do all kinds of things. So that's one thing that is interesting to us. In terms of next performances, I don't know. We feel like it's always like that. No, it's at the end of the residency that you feel, now I've met this person. Now I've met this person. Hey, I want to connect with them. Yeah. And maybe we should do this. So I feel like it's, something that we would like to continue to work on. We were saying we would love to go to Brazil, because there's also a lot there to be found that relates to what we do. Luana has been, I have not been. And if maybe, there was a possibility to continue to work on that in a different place, because I think in the end, I almost underestimated how much being in Montreal and the demographics that you find in Montreal and the different influences and cultures that you find in Montreal affected our work. And so I think it would be, interesting to see how this work evolves in a different context.
I want to thank both of you profoundly for a deeply moving performance. So really extraordinary work. And merci au Goethe. Thank you to the Goethe, to Circuit-Est as well. Thank you to all the audience who are listening to us now all across North America. And good evening. Thank you so much.
And I just wanted to thank you for your thoughtful questions, because it's not always that you get thoughtful questions, so thank you for that. And I also want to thank Circuit-Est and Francine and Philippe and Steve and Emily and Chloe and Clara for hosting us in such a lovely way. Like, we felt really at home, we felt comfortable. So yeah, thank you to the Goethe and thank you to Circuit-Est for having us, and thank you to you, Philippe.
Had to do it. No,
That was brilliant. Thank you
we
so
have to do
much.
it.
Oh, I love
Thank you,
it.
thank
I
you,
love it.
thank you. You really, I wanted to say
Thank
that.
you for the thoughtful.
Oh, no,
That was great.
yeah.
And so you are based, I mean, I heard you are based here, you
I'm
teach here.
I teach here.
Okay, at Concordia? Or?
Concordia.
Okay.
So,